The Reforge update that was recently added to Hypixel Skyblock completely changed the way Reforges work. Most of you will know by now that most of your crit chance is intended to come from your armor and weapons, while your talismans are mainly focused around damage, health, or mana, depending on your class. However, there's still an ongoing debate on whether to use pure or fierce on your armor pieces, so in today's video I'm going to be comparing the two to decide which one suits you better, regardless of what class you play. But before we get to testing, I'd like to quickly say that if you have any further questions or comments about this video, be sure to pop into my Twitch streams. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. We have a lot of open discussions over there, so I highly recommend checking it out. With that being said, let's dive straight into the video. Alrighty, so before we do start this video, I do want to cover a couple of things regarding these two Reforges, both being obviously fierce and pure. So the first thing I want to cover is just the overall stat boost, so that's being health, defense, mana, etc., any of those extra bonuses. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So if you see here, I actually have full fierce superior armor. So with the helmet, you can see here I get 10 strength, 6% crit chance, and then 18% crit damage, and that's just from the Reforge alone. So the thing with fierce is that it gives you like just really good damage buffs, being obviously the strength, the crit damage, and the crit chance can be really nice, although I'm pretty sure pure does give more. So essentially that's just all fierce does. It gives you 3 boosts to damage type stats, so that's being strength, crit chance, and damage. And if you have a look at pure, for example, which I have on my diver's chestplate, pure does something a little bit different. So instead of giving you, I think it was 20 strength, or was it 10? It was actually 10 strength. So fierce gives you 10 strength, while pure only gives you 8. But pure does give you 10% crit chance, while fierce only gives you 8 of that. However, pure gives 8% crit damage, while fierce is the one that gives you 18. So fierce does give you a higher buff towards the damage stats, while pure here also gives you attack speed, health, defense, a little bit of speed, and also a little bit of intelligence as well, which is really, really cool because it just gives you some extra overall buffs. It's like an all-round Reforge. It doesn't really specialize in one thing. So now that we've got those things out of the way, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to compare what it looks like to have full fierce superior against full pure superior, and also to see if I get 100% crit chance with it, also my strength and defense, and whatever I do with just my setup in general. So I'll go through all of that right now. Okay, so I've got my Skyblock menu right here, and you can see that I have 1,800 HP on the dot here with just a little bit under 900 defense. We've got a bit of true defense, but that's because of my true protection on my chest plate. Then we have 466 strength. Actually, let me hold out my sword just to get a better representation of this. So I actually get almost 600 strength when I hold my sword. I also get just 156 speed, which is pretty useless. No one really cares about that. I get 100% crit chance, and also just for the record, I do have sharp on my aspect of the dragons here, and sharp does give 20% crit chance, which is really, really helpful when trying to do this. I also have 382% crit damage. I don't have any attack speed, and then all the other things, you can check that out for yourselves. So these are stats for me right now using full fierce. As for talismans, I have a full accessory bag here with every single one being forceful for the blues, greys, and the greens. But then for the legendaries and the epics, you can see I've got strong on those just because I can. I thought it'd be a better reforge for that. So those are my talismans. I've also got this night vision charm, which is currently itchy. I haven't quite changed that, but just in case that affects anything, I do have that in my inventory. So how about we go and reforge my stuff to pure now, and we'll just go with a side-by-side comparison to see which one increases which stats and which one might be overall better depending on certain things. Okay, so I've gone ahead and reforged my entire superior set to pure now, so it's looking pretty good with all of those stat boosts. And if we just check out our Skyblock menu here, you can see that I actually get 33 more HP. I also get 930 defense, with before I think we had it was just under 900, or it was either just under 800. Pretty sure it was just under 900 with 897. We still get the same true defense, but however, if I hold out my AOTD here, I get a lot less strength, as you can see. So with my fierce set, I had about 630 strength, I think it was, and I had also got more crit damage as well. I still have 100% crit chance, which is fine. I also get a little bit of speed because that pure does give you speed, but I do get some attack speed as well. So one could say that maybe this extra attack speed is better than having more strength. However, from what I know, strength is actually really powerful right now, especially with the new changes that they added into the game, also making it a little bit stronger than having higher crit damage. So from what I can see here with this set, it seems as if fierce will just do more damage in general, general, because the higher strength I think is going to change a lot of things. But with now that we've got all those stats on pen on paper out of the way, how are we going to compare some things? Go kill a couple of mobs that you might fight on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to go with some crypt ghouls, maybe some wolves, some spiders, some endermen. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, so I'm here in the crypt, and we're just going to do a quick damage test with my AOTD here. I'm not going to use a Reaper Falchion, because if I do that, it'll be a little bit more inaccurate, although I could try that if I wanted to. We'll see that just for later reference. If I just hit this crypt ghoul, we deal 38,000 damage. If I do it again, 38,554. If I get towards the middle of the island, the magnetic talisman might actually change the damage. So if I hit this one, 38,716, but it seems to be in between the 38,000, close to the 39,000 damage, just using my AOTD here and full pure. Now if I change that to my Reaper Falchion and we try that out, because it's much better against zombies, we do 86,000 damage, and that's looking pretty good so far. So I think that's enough for this damage test on the crypt ghouls. We'll go ahead and try it out on some spiders now, and we'll see how that turns out. Alright, so up here on the nest now, we're going to do a quick damage test on some spiders. So we'll hit this Voracious, doing about 38,000 damage, 38,000 to the skeletons. A little bit less than the crypt ghouls, although I think that's because we're just on a different part of the island, and my magnetic talisman is just changing my strength slightly, but looking pretty good so far. This 38k damage isn't too bad. Also, another thing I want to add is I'm not actually using any pets, just so I don't have to like skew the damage in any way with like a golem or a tiger pet that I might be using. So we're going with just raw stats here, no pets, no nothing. 38,000 damage to spiders. If I try with my scorpion foil, we deal 86,000, so pretty similar to the Reaper Falchion on the crypt ghouls. It seems as if we do about 30,000, close to 40,000 damage with the AOTD, and then with the Slayer Sword, we deal about 86,000, close to 90,000 or so with the Slayer Sword. So now that the spiders have been done, let's go ahead and try it on some wolves. Alright, so in the ruins now, and I'm just sitting here near some wolves, so we'll just go ahead and one-tap this guy, and we're going to do 37,000 damage once again. Very similar to the crypt ghouls and the spiders. I'm pretty sure this is just because of the magnetic talisman, though, that it's like about 1,000 damage less, but once again, nothing special about this, so we're going to just tap this wolf again just to check. Yep, 37,000 damage, so it's relatively the same across all these main different mobs, and I don't actually have a Pooch sword to test it out, but I'm assuming the Pooch will do pretty much the same thing, so that is something that you can keep in mind. So now that we've got these three like Slayer mobs out of the way, how we go try everything that you've probably been waiting for, which is some Zealots and some Endermen, because a lot of people tend to farm those as well. Alright, so we're in the Dragon's Nest here. As you can see, we are standing on one of these platforms. We've got some Zealots over here, so without further ado, we'll hit that one and deal 48,000 damage. Now, the reason why we're doing a bit more damage to the Zealots is because my sword actually has Ender Slayer 6 on it, or just Ender Slayer in general. And Ender Slayer makes it so that you do a lot more damage to end mobs, which is why the 48,000 damage is what we're doing right now. And if we move over maybe to the Enderman that spawns over here, maybe we'll do a little bit more, maybe we'll do a little bit less. And as you can see, we can do about 48,000, so it's the same thing. Once again, doing very similar damage to the other tests that we did just before. So about 38,000 damage to the normal mobs, and then 48,000 damage to the end mobs, which just makes about sense. The Ender Slayer 6 does buff it slightly with that. So now that we've got those damage tests out of the way with the pure armor, how about we go try it with Fierce, and we'll see what the numbers are for those, and then we'll get into some other details later on in the video. Alrighty, so I've gone ahead and reforged all my armor to Fierce now, so we should get some extra damage buffs, hopefully, with the strength and some crit damage as well. So just once again, to check that, you can see that we get a little bit more strength now than we were getting with Pure, but our health and defense is a little bit lower than before, so that's another thing to keep in mind. So, without further ado, let's get straight to the crypt ghouls. We were doing 38,000 damage, but now we deal 43,000, so you can see there's a pretty big difference there. So 43,150 damage to these crypt ghouls. We're doing around about 5,000 damage extra, as you can see, so 43,000 versus that 38,000, so pretty good, not too bad. We can try it out with the Reaper Falchion now to see how that works out. Now I'm pretty sure we're doing 86,000 with the Reaper Falchion, so if we hit this critical 96,000, it pretty much just added an extra 10,000 damage on top of that. So Fierce is looking pretty solid right now for damage, and I think that's going to be the way to go for that. So without further ado, let's go try it out on some wolves and some spiders as well, and we'll see how that turns out. Alrighty, so back here at the Spider's Nest, we shall go ahead and do a damage test on these spiders as well. So the Voracious Spider, 42,000 damage, 42,000 damage maybe as well on this one. Same with the Skeleton, 42,000 damage. So pretty much the same thing as the Crypt Ghouls, but once again, Magnetic Talisman just doing its thing with the extra damage, strength buffs, depending on where you are on the island. But it stays relatively constant with that 42,000 damage a hit. Still about 5,000, 6,000 damage more than Pure gives us, and other than that, that's pretty much all there is to it. So I guess we could try it out with the Scorpion foil now. So if I just grab this and try the damage on that, we deal 96,000 damage, just like the Reaper Falchion against the Crypt Ghouls. So really there's nothing too special about that. But with that being said, how about we head over to the crypt now, try it on some wolves, and we'll see how the damage test works on that. Okay, here back at the wolves again, so we'll just go ahead and try out our damage once more with 42,000 damage, 42,000 damage, so just an extra 1,000 damage more than the crypticals, probably because we're at a different location on the whole island. Once again, the magnetic talisman making some minor changes there, but it stays relatively the same. It's still higher than pure, so you can see that damage wise, this is a much better reforge so far. So now that we've just tested it on some wolves, we may as well go ahead and try it on some endermen now, back in the end, and we'll see how that goes. Alright, so back in the Dragon's Nest, you probably figured out by now it's not really going to change too much, and these numbers are staying relatively constant, so how about we just head over and maybe fight some Endermen. So these guys seem to have been killing a lot of Zealots over here. We're going to head over here and just test it on one of the Endermens over here. So as you can see, I'm just going to hit that once, 54,000 damage, and there's an Obby Defender. I don't think our damage changes much on those because it's not technically an End Mob. I think it's Endermen, Endermites, and Ender Dragons, but once again, Zealot, 54,000 damage, so pretty good. It added another like 10,000 or so damage to our 42,000 damage as expected. So as you can see here, Fierce is definitely the better damage dealing reforge, and if you're going to be going for damage, I think Fierce might be a good call. But how about we go take it back to my island and I can share my thoughts on it, what I think is better and which one you should definitely go for. So that being said, let's go ahead and do that. Alrighty, so as you can see from those quick damage tests on some more common mobs that most people are going to be taking out, Fierce definitely does a lot more damage than Pure did. However, Pure did give me a lot more health and defense. As you can see, we have only 1,800 health versus the 1,833 we get with Pure. Pure also gave us, I think it was like 915 defense. I'm not too sure about. I will put a side-by-side comparison on the screen right now. And then when it came to the strength and the crit damage, we had a lot more strength when we used the Fierce Reforge, and we also had a little bit more crit damage as well. However, we didn't have any bonus attack speed, so that is something that you might want to keep in mind as well. And then as for crit chance, they both stayed at 100%, but that's just because my Sharp Reforge managed to do that really well. Maybe if I remodeled my Sword Reforge slightly when I used Pure, I might have been able to increase a little bit more damage there, but for the sake of this video, I wasn't going to get too complicated. I was staying with the same build for both of these Reforges, just to make sure we got that 100% crit chance and not thinking too much about it. So, which one do I think is better? Well, I'm going to have to let you guys decide this one, and I'm just going to give you guys the facts, what I've noticed, what I think is something to keep in mind, and how this all works out. So, when it comes to using Pure or Fierce, you're going to be wanting to look for one of two things, and that is if you're going to go for, like, say, Berserker or Archer or Damage, like a really damagey based class, you're probably going to want to use Fierce, because like I said, Fierce gives you that strength and crit damage bonus, which is much nicer, and being able to have that strength and crit damage is really helpful. And you can also use Fierce, say, on, even if you don't have Superior. I think with Superior it's just easy for me because it gives me an extra 2% crit chance per piece, but with using the Sharp Reforge on your Aspect of the Dragons or whatever sword you're using, if it's legendary, you're going to get an extra 20% crit chance on there, and then each armor piece is going to give you 10, 10, 10, and 10, and then depending on your combat level, you should be able to hit 100% crit chance relatively well, or if you want to go for 80% crit chance, you can just use God Pots all the time and do it that way. So, damage-wise, Fierce is really good, and for those damage type classes, I would recommend Fierce as well. However, when it comes to playing, say, Mage or Healer, where you need that extra health, maybe that extra defense, then you might want to go with Pure, or if you don't actually reach 100% crit chance, you might want to go with Pure as well. So just going to open up the Diver's Armor just again for the comparison. Pure gives you just an all-round stat boost to literally everything. So that's health, defense, speed, intelligence, your attack speed, your crit damage, crit chance, and your strength. So as you can see, it's an all-rounder set. It doesn't focus so much on your damage like Fierce does, but being that all-round set, I feel like it's going to be better for those classes that don't really need that strength or don't really need the crit damage, and having some extra survivability or some other perks is actually going to come in a lot more handy for that. And that pretty much sums up everything I had for this video. So just to recap quickly, if you didn't really understand too much from this video and you want to take one thing away from it, it's that Fierce is more for damage, and that Purus is an all-round reforge that buffs things like your intelligence, your defense, and health, which isn't necessarily what you want depending on what build you're playing, but can come in really handy if you're playing either Mage or Healer, because those aren't really focused on strength and crit damage. So, but with that being said, hope you found this video entertaining or informative in some way. If you did, please do leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel, because it does help out a ton. And another quick side note, I did mention this at the beginning of the video, but if you have any further questions, comments, or some suggestions about this video, be sure to visit me over on Twitch. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. But with that being said, that's all I have for you today, and as always, take care and peace. We've done it. Let's rank mana. We have 69 XP. You can't see it, but we do. Open menu. Boom! Let's go, dude. Spider 7. I got a permanent 1% crit chance now. Let's go, dude. Okay, now we're gonna claim it, hey? Give me my Spider 7 rewards. Hey! Survivor Cube.